The North Carolina Governor's Working Group on Veterans, Service Members, and Their Families has deep roots in the Tar Heel State going back more than a decade. Today, it offers a home for the dozens of groups in the state focused on improving veterans' lives and provides a canopy of relief for hundreds of thousands of North Carolina vets. The GWG is a living, breathing apparatus of service, providing a space for veteran advocates to find new ways to better serve those who have served our country. The first seed of this awesome idea was planted in 2006 among the founders Flo Stein, Dr. Harold Kudler, Dr. Wei-Li Fang, and Dr. Mike Lancaster. Over the next few years, the roots of what we now know as the GWG began to take hold, and by the early 2010s, that seed had grown into a sturdy sapling. Heavy-hitting state agencies, such as the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Commerce, had come on board. The Department of Veterans Affairs was fully engaged, and nonprofit groups from across the state were getting to know each other, meeting, and finding ways to work together to make veterans' lives better. In 2013, NC for Military Employment was created, NC for Me, an offshoot of the Department of Commerce. In 2014, the organization officially became a working group, before it had been a focus group, and a number of today's mainstay service providers got their start, among them Operation Home, a group committed to ending veteran homelessness, NC Strive, which helps address veterans' educational needs. Also, the first Women's Veterans Summit and Expo was held in 2014, and Veterans Experience Action Centers were established around the state. The following year, another group that's now indispensable was born out of the GWG, NC Serves, which today serves more than 13,000 veterans in 80 North Carolina counties. Also in 2015, the state doubled down on its commitment to vets, creating the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, which promptly joined the GWG. A large part of the group's success can be traced to its unwavering commitment to key veteran issues, like curbing veteran suicide and ending veteran homelessness. Those critical missions were at the core of the seed planted in 2006 and remain central today. In 2012 and again in 2015, the group published statewide suicide reduction and prevention plans.
These are a lot of good guys, but if they're sitting at home,
Over the past 3 years, the GWG has become a showcase for veteran-oriented videos and digital media outreach.
I am sober.
Including an original series called Words to Live By. Battle-hardened veterans speaking directly to other vets, encouraging strength and resilience. Today, the GWG meets once a month to highlight pressing veteran issues, explore new solutions to veteran problems and challenges, and build relationships that turn ideas into action. Representatives from dozens of groups across the state make the monthly trek to Raleigh for the 2-hour meeting. Many more watch online. Each meeting is streamed live, offers closed captioning, and allows for viewer engagement. New ideas like the Governor's Challenge are introduced and given space to grow. Ideas like helpncvets.org are showcased and offered up to the group. Help NC Vets does just what it says, helps veterans and their families get connected to services in the state and connect with each other. Because of these and other efforts, veteran homelessness has turned a corner over the past decade. The veteran suicide rate in North Carolina is significantly lower than the national veteran suicide rate, and the Tar Heel State has boasted one of the lowest veteran suicide rates in the Southeast for the past several years. From its humble, passionate beginnings, the GWG has grown into a mighty tree of veteran support, and it's only getting stronger. Every year, the ground in which it's rooted gets richer and its branches grow longer. New fruits of service spring up, and more relief finds its way to North Carolina veterans and their families. The North Carolina Governor's Working Group can and should be a model for how to meet that mission around the country. I don't even know how much of this we're going to use, but let's find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Mark Edmonds. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Division of Workforce Solutions within North Carolina Department of Commerce.
Hi, I'm Martin Falls. I am the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs of North Carolina.
My name is Mark Belos. I'm the Director of the Winston-Salem Department of Veterans Affairs Regional Office.
Hi, I'm Deanne Seekins. I'm the Network Director for the Mid-Atlantic Network, DISN 6.
I'm Dr. Michelle Laws, and I am over community engagement and empowerment for the North Carolina Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Services.
I'm a 28-year Army veteran. I come from an Army family. My wife, my brother, my father, my grandfather.
I spent over 30 years in the Army. I went from a private to a colonel.
My father served in the military. He served in the Army.
I have a husband who's a veteran. I have a father who was a World War II veteran who used our healthcare system. And I have a son who's enlisting in the military next week.
You're talking about my passion. That's what you're talking about, my passion. What do we do here? We advocate for veterans and for the military installations within North Carolina.
I am responsible for veterans care in North Carolina and Virginia. Provide service to about 500,000 unique veterans.
One of our overall objectives and missions is to increase the usage of our benefits. We are getting out around the state to educate veterans on what entitlements they may be eligible for.
Our division has invested millions of dollars to make sure that veterans have access to the appropriate mental health, developmental disabilities, and substance use disorder services that are needed. We want to make sure that no veteran is sleeping under a bridge. We want to make sure that not one more veteran dies by suicide in North Carolina.
So our part of the Veteran Support Network, this collaborative, this network is the job piece. And so we match veteran job seekers with employers. That's what we do. Any veteran that comes into the office gets priority of service. So they go to the front of the line for any job seeker services. They go to the front of the line for any funded training. They go to the front of the line for any employment services and to get them jobs.
We work hand in hand with Commerce, Department of Commerce, and Workforce Solutions in particular.
We can't do it on our own in the Department of Veterans Affairs. We have to collaborate and work with other people.
The Governor's Working Group is a great venue. You've got federal, state, local government, you've got civic organizations, you've got veteran service organizations, such as, the Veteran Foreign War, the American Legion. All those are partners.
One thing that sets veterans aside, the whole veteran community, is we leave no man or woman behind. And I think everybody takes that seriously. And so when you look at groups like the Governor's Working Group, it allows us all to come together and really help veterans that are in need.
What I've really appreciated about our Governor's Work Group is we've been able to walk hand in hand and focus on issues, suicide prevention, suicide awareness. That is something that no one healthcare system, no one community partner can solve alone.
It's really exciting. Sometimes being with the organization I've been with for so long, you get used to doing things the same way. This is an opportunity to do things differently.
And one of the things I'd like to say as a result of the Governor's Working Group is North Carolina is now below the national average of veteran suicide rate. Second thing is North Carolina is below the national average of homeless veteran rate. So I can only attribute that to information, education, and collaboration.
Everyone has their niche, right? No one knows everything, and some of us specialize in very narrowly focused areas. And we believe that if we can pull all of these resources together and this expertise together through sharing of information through the North Carolina Governor's Working Group, sharing information, letting people know across the state what programs and services exist, then that's really key. That's critical.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. And as usual, I want to bring you greetings from the 75th Governor of the state of North Carolina, Roy Cooper.
Every day, there's a win somewhere, if you look at it. And that win keeps you going the next day and the day after and the day after. That yes, perseverance does work, and it makes it all worthwhile.
And welcome. Today is March 24th, 2022, and our third North Carolina Governor's Working Group for the year. Today, we'll be talking about post-deployment transitions for veterans and their families and the resources available for those transitions. If you would like closed captioning, you may go to the link available there for Carolina's captioning. And if you need the minutes or the agenda, just go to NorthCarolinaGWG.org and you can find this presentation along with any previous presentations and information, lots of resources. On behalf of Walter Gaskin, Secretary of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, we welcome you. And for the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, the department's engaged in the legislative agenda for the General Assembly's short session. That means they are over talking to the legislators, letting them know what our veterans need and what they need to help serve those veterans.
Crystal, I think Terry
Yes.
jumped on.
All right. Terry Westbrook.
Crystal, thank you. I'm sorry. I had a quick little stop out there for a moment, but I'm here now. But
All right.
you.
Welcome.
And on behalf of Secretary Gaskin, once again, welcome to everyone that's involved. Before I go any further than this, I want to make a special shout out to all of our subcommittee chairmen that we have established here within the Governor's Working Group, our subcommittees on education and healthcare and homelessness and the various components. So I think we've got 7 subcommittees established. They're all working hard. And they're all going to be coming back here in the next 2 or 3 or 4 months and start making some presentations, not only on what their subcommittee's into, but on some of the things they're actually accomplishing and the products coming out of it. So I want to really put a big shout out to them, those 7 committee chairmen that we've got. They've all agreed to do something. And there's a lot of work that's going to get done this year based on the way those subcommittees function. So I really want to say thank you, and I appreciate your efforts. And, I am constantly here to support anything you need one way or the other. Back to the thing. So next item, the Veterans Benefit Live event. We just finished the one in Cary. It was a great success. We'll be giving you some of the statistics on it the next go around. They're still compiling them at the VA regional office now, but that event is an incredible collaboration between the VA regional office, our VA healthcare partners here at the DMVA, our county veteran services, some of the veteran service organizations in this area, and other partners out there in the world that do a tremendous amount of work on behalf of veterans. And we can't do anything without them. And as you see, we've even got another one already scheduled in August. Crystal Miller is going to be supporting that one specifically. She and her team are hosting, and I expect that one will be a huge event also. So please stay tuned, and please mark your calendar. Come to Charlotte if you get a chance to. The next Veterans Council is meeting soon. As you know, the Veterans Council is a collaboration of all of the veteran service organizations in North Carolina, from the American Legion and the Disabled American Veterans to the Military Officer Association to the North Carolina National Guard Association. There's lots of organizations that participate in that and help to develop a good legislative package for benefits in support of veterans in the state of North Carolina. Completion of the Cartersville State Veterans Home. I just really wanted to give you another quick update. That home is actually, even as we speak, going through its final construction review from the State Construction Office in Raleigh. Once that review is done, they will immediately transition to trying to pass the state health regulation inspection. And we're on to the certificate of occupancy and doing our thing. So we are on track to be through with that project in the next month or so. And we will certainly start receiving residents and placing them in the home. Our nursing home management services company is working hard to start their staffing model and get themselves ready to start receiving residents. So more to come. Next time we meet, we'll perhaps be talking about the actual grand opening date and all that stuff. And we've already talked about the Veteran Benefits Live, so I won't go into that again. So next slide. Coming up next, the State Veteran Homes Program has a significant amount of construction going on. We're putting new roofs on 3 of our 4 homes. We're finishing constructing a 5th one. We have some road repairs. We have some heating and air conditioning system replacement. We have some capital equipment purchases for all of them. So there's a lot going on at our homes, and our cemeteries are already starting on the process of expansion. So they're looking at areas they can expand to. They're looking at building a process to go back to the United States Veterans Administration to get some funding to support that. But we will be in the midst of expansion starting fairly soon and going for the next few years. The Veteran Affairs Commission, as you know, an organization appointed by the governor to advise Secretary Gaskin on veterans issues around the state. Their next scheduled meeting is coming up on April the 19th. We will be messing with that. The link will be out there for it on the public, the Secretary of State's public calendar. So anyone that's interested in listening in on that Veteran Affairs Commission meeting, please, you're always welcome. We talked about the grand opening already. Finally, the National Association of State Veteran Homes is having their annual conference coming up here in about the 10th of April. I'll be going up to that to see what kind of innovations there are in the State Veterans Program, State Veterans Home Program, as well as what legislation is being pursued nationally that we may or may not think fits into North Carolina's program. Next slide. Takeaways, as you see, number one, our homes are still well above the state's average in terms of vaccination rate, in terms of booster shot rate, in terms of positivity rate within the homes, even though the state is still in the, they're still maintaining somewhat of a positivity rate county to county. Our homes are dropping well down into the almost 0% positive range. So we always encourage the 3 Ws, the governor's program. We think that's the right way to stay involved in it. And as you can see below, there's a lot of legislative activity, both at the state and national level, that we find ourselves involved in. And as things become clear, we will certainly be interested in providing that information to you. So, Crystal, thanks again. I appreciate the opportunity to provide this information.
Thank you so much, Mr. Westbrook. It's good to see you today, and thank you. Next up, we have George Drexel, Acting Deputy Network Director for Vision 6. Welcome, Mr. Drexel.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Crystal. All right, we have a few updates from Department of Veterans Affairs. So first up is our leadership updates. We did select a new Chief Medical Officer, Dr. James Goff. He'll be joining our team in early April. The Deputy Network position is also in recruitment. So I know you did an introduction for me, but I'm the interim Deputy Network Director for a few months until that person comes on board. Prior to here, I'm actually the Associate Director out of the Asheville VA. So we have vacancies at 2 of our medical centers in North Carolina. One is in Durham and one in Salisbury. Both selections for the director have been made, and we're going through the hiring process. Okay, so what's happening now? I believe Mr. Cruz has already shared the Air Commission, the Asset and Infrastructure Review Commission with you all before, as well as we've done some public presentations on all of this and what it means. But if you have not seen it or heard of it before now, I'll just give you a really quick brief of what that is. In 2018, the Mission Act that was signed into law charged the VA with reviewing and assessing the services and infrastructure, where we provide services, the aging of our infrastructure and all of that stuff, and making sure that we can provide veterans the healthcare that they need, not only today, but well into the future, and positioning VA's infrastructure to do that. VA has submitted more than 1,700 proposals to a specifically appointed committee that will review this. That committee, of course, is called the Air Commission. The committee will review these proposals over the next year or so. And once those proposals are reviewed, the committee will provide those recommendations to the president as such. So a few things about the Air Commission itself, some important facts to remember. Recommendations are based on a 3-year study of the VA infrastructure and veterans' current and future needs. Recommendations have not been approved or funded through the Air Commission process. The Air Commission is a bipartisan, presidentially and congressional approved group. Will review the VA's recommendations over the next year. During that time, they will hold public hearings, visit VA facilities, meet with partners, and listen to veterans to assess those recommendations before moving forward for presidential and congressional approvals. Today, the recommendations will have no impact on current operations, plans, or activities for VA employees or service for veterans. Basically, nothing will change at this point. We will continue any planned infrastructure updates that we already have in the works. We will continue with those. We're not going to halt anything. Or anything like that. We'll continue on. And the next slide, please. So this is the overall timeline for the steps for the Air Commission and the overall review. It's multiple steps here, or I should say phases. So currently all of the recommendations are sitting with the Air Commission. And like I said earlier, they will have about a year to review those. After they review those, they will submit them to the President of the United States, March of 2023. After the President approves or disapproves those, they will go to Congress to either reject or accept those recommendations overall. And then the last phase, or at least what's on this slide here, the Secretary of the VA will get the recommendations, or I should say not the recommendations, but what the marching orders going forward are, and they will go ahead and start implementing all of those changes. So just a few things to remember about those recommendations that have not been adopted. Should they be adopted next year, there are more steps that could take place for several years to see completion of major projects. And of course, we do this all for the benefit of the veterans and making sure that the VA is positioned properly to deliver the best health care where our veterans need it. And that is the end of the update for this group. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Drexel. It's exciting times when growth happens. We're glad to see it. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next up, we have Renee Rader, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services. Welcome, Ms. Rader.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I am, just as an FYI, the acting Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer for the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Services. Just wanted to talk for a few minutes about some of the programs that we have going right now. So this is a very busy time of year for us at the Division of Mental Health. Since the release of the governor's certified budget last year, our division has been working diligently to get funds out and into communities so that folks can get the treatment, recovery, and self-determination services that they need. Because veterans are a priority for our division, we have funds specifically dedicated for services and supports for veterans and families. I wanted to highlight just a couple of those for you that we currently have going. One is that through our allocations to support the Stephen A. Cohen Veterans Clinics, we currently fund evidence-based behavioral health services in those clinics. We are tracking data and are showing some very promising outcomes. For example, out of the 233 referrals to the Hope for Warriors Clinic, we had 138 veterans receive therapy services, and we are able to track symptoms of PTSD through an assessment, and we are seeing a decrease in those symptoms by about 40%, which is phenomenal. We have also been able to prioritize funds through allocations to our local management entity partners, managed care organizations, to support screening of PTSD, traumatic brain injury, mental illness, and substance use disorders, as well as treatment through telehealth and outpatient therapy, medication management, support groups, and some vocational services. The funds that we use through our LME MCO partners are also used to support educational classes, assessments for suicidality and mental health symptoms, and our substance use work. We're also working on some contracts that include work around obtaining housing and connection to community mental health services for veterans. Also in our plans for this coming years, we are getting ready to support phase 2 of a virtual reality project for PTSD and vets. Phase 1 was completed in 2019, but the work on that had to be suspended due to COVID. We're excited to get that started again. This particular project is really exciting. It's looking at how to use virtual reality to provide exposure-based therapy to help veterans deal with symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. So the way that it works is the virtual reality is used to simulate an environment that triggers memories of trauma. And we've got trained clinicians working with folks to help them visualize and talk about their traumatic experiences. This kind of treatment does show potential. We are doing the study because more studies are needed. Once phase 2 is complete, if that's successful, we'll move on to phase 3, which will include testing and eventual rollouts. We've also recently begun to use our federal PATH grant funds to support veterans homeless programs. PATH is a federal grant, projects for assistance in transition from homelessness, and can be used for things like outreach and screening, diagnostic assessment, treatments, substance use disorder treatment, mental health treatment, provider training, referrals to primary health care. It can be used for a lot of things. We have used these dollars historically for general homeless populations, but now we are partnering with some of our veteran organizations in the community to use these funds specifically targeted to support veterans. Moving on to things that may not be specifically veteran related, but are available to all North Carolinians that may be of interest to veterans and their families. I just wanted to mention our Hope for NC helpline, which is 24/7 confidential support for people who experience stress. That helpline is available to everyone in North Carolina, and you can call, text, or chat for that. I also wanted to mention briefly that March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and our division has a robust problem gambling program funded through the North Carolina Educational Lottery. And the program is designed to prevent, treat, and provide education about problem gambling to schools and communities. We do a lot of work in that area, but I would specifically like to draw your attention to our problem gambling helpline that can be accessed through morethanagame.nc.gov. That is also 24-hour support that's available. People have access to licensed clinicians who are specifically trained in problem gambling. Some additional things that we are working on that may be of interest to this group. So right now, North Carolina has a robust network of certified peer support specialists where people with lived experience with a mental illness or substance use disorder support other people on their path to recovery. There is a certification program for that, but in the next 2 years, we'll be focusing on developing specialized certifications and programs for peers. So we'll be doing this in a couple of different areas, but one of the areas that's of interest to this group would be specialized veteran peer support services. So this would mean that a veteran with lived experience in with a mental illness or substance use disorder would be able to be certified to provide peer support to someone who is currently in recovery from mental illness or substance use disorder. We'll be doing similar programs for other specialty populations like older adults and our justice involved populations. But we're really excited to get that work started. And for the Veterans Peer Support Certification Program, we really are in just the beginning stages of that. But I look forward to sharing more information as we go. I wanted to mention our 988 implementation. So if you are not familiar with 988, that is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which will be national starting on July 1st of 2022. So it will operate very similarly to 911. So no matter where you are, you call 988 and you will reach the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, but you will get help locally. And North Carolina has received a 988 planning grant, and we're working diligently to get all of those pieces into place by July 1st of 2022, and we're on track. Wanted to just mention briefly that we have recently published a RFA for $12 million earlier this week for certified community behavioral health clinics, CCBHCs. This is a national model that provides integrated care, so behavioral health and physical health services all in one place. The goal is to have folks have timely access to evidence-based mental health treatment and substance use disorder service and 24/7 crisis response. There are over 400 of these nationally. We've got 7 in North Carolina right now, but overall they've been shown to dramatically increase access to mental health and substance use disorder treatment. And they also help expand states' capacity to address things like the opioid epidemic and the overuse and over-reliance on emergency departments and hospitals. And then finally, I just wanted to mention really quick the implementation of tailored plans. For those of you who are familiar with the North Carolina behavioral health system and how those are managed through our local management entity, managed care organizations, or LMEMCOs, that system is transitioning from the LMEMCO system to a tailored plan system so that those will be the plans that manage the Medicaid funded and state funded services for individuals with significant mental health needs and intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Next up, Mr. Victor Glover, State Director of Veterans Employment Service. Welcome, Victor.
Well, welcome. Good morning. And it won't let me start my video. I don't know if you can see me or not. But it says the host won't start me.
I cannot, but I can see, but I can hear you well.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad we were able to get together once again and share some of our information with one another. 2 things that are happening within Commerce that I want to share amongst other information is that we've hit another milestone. We now have 4,595 jobs that have been announced. That's important to us because we're turning a corner in commerce and employment. That's compared to 1,616 jobs at this time last year. In 2021, there was a total of 24,224 jobs that were announced. So we are keeping tabulation and proud that things are really changing for us in the state of North Carolina. Another thing that's happening that we wanted to share with you is that Governor Cooper's program, the NC Job Ready program, it's a workforce development initiative to ensure North Carolinians are ready for jobs of today and tomorrow. The framework was built around three key principles: skills and education attainment, employer leadership, and local innovations with our employers. And that just strengthens our position in North Carolina and the services that we are providing to veterans and military spouse and transitioning service members, Guard and Reserves. Our team at the Division of Workforce Solutions, we provide experienced help to veterans, transitioning service members, eligible spouses that are seeking employment. Our Career Center staff, we understand the needs and the challenges of military life here in North Carolina. And how this works, I've shared with some before, and I hope is new news to some folks that are out there, is that our veterans can visit any of our 85 career centers and take advantage of no-cost services. And some of those services are helping to prepare and decipher a career assessment, looking at labor market information for the career field or job that you're interested in. We can look out 3 to 5 years of what's happening in the state of North Carolina and actually drill down to the county that the individual is in to let them know about the job market of that career field that they're interested in. We can assess, we do assess it to training opportunity, access to training opportunities, job fairs, hiring events, workshops, job interview preparation, resume and cover letter assistance, and we provide assistance with NC Works Online. We have moved into the 21st century. We have a lot of things that have been added to the NC Works Online that are beneficial to all of our North Carolinians. Also, with our NC Works Online, we have a veterans portal, and that veterans portal will help our service members transfer their military skills and help them to understand the career fields that are associated with those skills that they acquired in the military, if they so desire. And we have free internet and computer services as well. With our NC Works online feature, it's our state's official job search website. It gives veterans access to job postings for 24 hours before they're made available to the general public. We have a feature on NC Works when you identify yourself as a veteran, and it is a career field or job that you're interested in, and it's loaded in the system. It'll go to you 24 hours prior to it going out into the general public, in the general system to the public. The system provides information on training opportunities, local services, and other resources that are available to veterans. And employers can also search exclusively for candidates that are veterans on our website. The NC Works Veterans Portal, we've invested a little bit into this. It was created by our IT folks a couple of years ago, and it has gotten better and better and stronger, and provides a lot more information to our veteran population. It leverages the critical skills and experience gained through military service for a new career in high demand fields. It was developed by our Department of Commerce IT folks. I got a little ahead of myself. And the Veterans Portal features tabs that provide quick access to employment services, job fairs, hiring events, education and training opportunities. And it also provides a lot of helpful tips and resources as well. And in closing, as always, I want to share the resource page. You can access it through the Governor's Working Group website and pull up the slides, tabs to North Carolina Job Ready, North Carolina for Me, who you will hear from later on this afternoon. Of course, my organization, the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and also we have a link to NCWorks Veterans Portal. Appreciate your time, and you can reach out to me at any time with questions. My email address is on the slides, and thank you very much, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Victor. Next up are our friends from the VA Regional Office in Winston-Salem, Senior Executive Director, Mr. Mark Belos. Welcome, Mark. It's good to see you today.
Good to see you, Crystal. Thanks for the intro. If we can go to the next slide, I'll get going. It's good to see everybody and be on the call again. Got a short update, three short items. Want to remind everybody about our veteran appointment scheduler. I know I talk about this every month, but I do for a reason, because it is very important. If you want to see us, we are there for you. We are open for walk-ins at the regional office, but quite often it's hard for everybody to get to Winston-Salem. So you can use this appointment scheduler, and we will try to take care of you virtually. So there are options there for you to see us every day, and I just encourage you to click on that link if you want to talk to somebody at the regional office. The second thing, I know you heard about it a little earlier, but VA in My Town event took place in Cary last week, a huge success. And I got a few numbers for you to talk a little bit about what we were able to accomplish. We saw over 1,000 veterans during the 3-day event last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We partnered with the American Legion from Cary to get the event going. We also had folks there from VHA, from the Vet Center, and from our cemetery administration also. Kind of amazing where we saw folks from, not just from North Carolina, but we helped veterans from, I'm not going to read all the states, you can read them on the slide, but a whole lot of places all over the country. Folks come to North Carolina because they know they're going to get the service that they deserve. We had over 400 veterans that filed additional claims, which was outstanding. These are veterans that either weren't getting benefits or needed to get some enhanced benefits because either their condition has worsened or their situation has changed. So we're able to get most of those claims rolling. We're also able to make 28 decisions right there on the spot. And as you can see there, pay veterans almost a little under $200,000 in retroactive benefits in a short period of time. That's a lot of money going into someone's pocket. So we're thrilled we were able to do that. Our homeless hardship contacts, 21 people. We were able to help 21 folks. I know there was someone who was in danger of losing their home. We were able to work with them and help them out. So a really great event. We had some additional data that's not on the screen. Almost 99% of the participants said they would recommend the event to other veterans. That's how it's continued to evolve. And we've had some great scores, trust in VA, in the regional office, in our service in the state of North Carolina. Our trust score was over 90%, which is really outstanding. We just want to close this segment here by just thanking our employees at the regional office. We had a couple dozen employees. They were there a couple nights till 9-10 o'clock at night to make sure they helped every veteran. On Saturday, we were overwhelmed with folks coming in. We were able to luckily take some information down and assist some veterans this week that we were not able to get to. But really dedicated staff that works with me in Winston-Salem, and we're really thrilled with the great job that they did for this event. Next slide, please. I want to just mention one more important event that we have coming up. This is a national event. Our VBA Office of Transition, Outreach, and Economic Development is going to host a rural outreach symposium on March 29th. You can see the WebEx link on the screen that I know will be provided. There's also a phone number to dial in if you wish to do it that way. This is again a VBA VHA partnership, and we're going to be talking about outreach and benefits that might be available or would be available to folks living in rural areas around the state. So whether you're a veteran, a spouse, a relative of a veteran, someone who helps veterans, any type of organization that helps veterans, there's going to be some important information shared on this hour and a half long symposium, and I encourage you to join. Veterans in our rural areas of the state of North Carolina, especially, are at risk. A lot of those folks are not getting benefits. Sometimes they don't come in for treatment that they need, and it's important that we reach out to those folks and help those folks as much as we can. So please attend this event. I think you'll learn a lot, and I think you'll be happy about what you're able to obtain. So Crystal, next slide. So just the takeaways: continue to use the scheduler, the upcoming virtual outreach symposium, and we continue to be open and servicing veterans as we have for the last 2 years and long before that. So that's what I have, and that's my update. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate it. So just my takeaway from all of that, I will turn my camera on. So we've heard from the VISN, from the Winston-Salem VA Regional Office, from Workforce Solutions, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, and Department of Health and Human Services. All of those agencies are going to assist in transitioning our veterans and helping them to make that transition. So if you're watching and you know someone, you know a service member who's getting ready to transition out of the military and into North Carolina, make sure and connect them to us. I think a good point of contact is a VSO, and you can find your local VSO at www.milvets.nc.gov under services and benefits. Next up, we have David Wayne Smith from North Carolina Military One Source, and he's going to talk to us about what they have for transitioning veterans. Welcome, David.
Good afternoon, Ms. Miller, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me today to the working group. I'd like to give you a quick general update on Military One Source, the program, and then some specifics about our transition services. Department of Defense started the Military One Source program 12, maybe 14 years ago, and they did so to provide a wide variety of resources for service members and their dependents, all to make military life the best that it can be. And they decided to do this and give service members and their families access to their resources remotely and at no cost to those service members. So first off, the way that they're able to access their resources. Number one, you'll see in the red banner on the slide there. And let me ask too, if you would advance, I think it's the next slide. Or maybe, yeah, there you go. Thank you. In the red banner right there, you'll see our website, militaryonesource.mil, that they can connect with resources that way. Just a quick reminder, they do log in there and they can quickly set up their account and log in. Then we have our 800 toll-free call centers, and that number is there, 800-342-9647. They can contact the call centers anytime, day, night, any day of the year. The call centers are always up and operational. They will speak with a live consultant that will get them right to the resource or the resources that they're looking for. And most recently, we have a military OneSource app so that they can add us right onto their smartphone. And that's simply done on their app store. It's as simple as searching military OneSource. And they'll see the My Military OneSource app. They can quickly download that right there onto the smartphone. So that is how they connect with all the resources. And I mentioned that there's a wide variety of resources, and obviously that is to support service members and their dependents throughout the military career. Due to our focus today on the one particular part of that career, kind of at the end, I'll talk a little bit about transition services. And you'll see some information here on the slide. There's a lot of things going on at this time in a service member or a dependent's life. And I think it's considered one of those major life changes that sometimes can bring some stress with them. So one of the most popular resources that we bring is a non-medical counseling, and they're able to put a professional counselor in their corner to help with a number of different topics that we run into throughout a career, whether it's relationships, communication, difficulty dealing and adjusting to big changes. There's a number of different things there that the counselors can help with. And this is one of those times when it's especially useful. Also, we have support there for relocation. Many times, whenever they're retiring or separating, that also involves a move. We have a tool through the website, Plan My Move, which will help with that complex task. And then we have experts that can help them in the spouse relocation and transition program as well. We have education counselors. A lot of times at this point, there's consideration given to more education, finishing education, licensing, certification, how to pay for these things. We have support. We have education counselors, professionals there to support them with this as well. And then career resources, career counselors support in converting, translating all of that rich military experience into a powerful civilian resume. So those are also things to keep in mind. And as this group well knows, many times at this point, we're not talking about one job or one career, we're talking about two. And we also have a program called Spouse Education and Career Opportunities that supports military spouses throughout the military career and obviously at transition, during transition also. And a quick note here, for those in the National Guard or in one of the reserve components, transition services is something that they'll use throughout their career because they're advancing their civilian career right along with their military career. So it's not necessarily one time there at the end of the military career like it is with their active duty brothers and sisters. We also have a number of different consults through Military OneSource, and they cover a wide variety of topics, things for parents, kids, education is one of the consults that's available. But we also have a transitioning veteran consultation, and that's another highly utilized resource at this time, this part of the career. And then lastly, we have a lot of financial and tax resources, and invariably this becomes part of that transition as well. Financial and tax questions. We have financial counselors that are available that can support them in figuring out those questions. Sometimes it might be figuring out a new budget. Once you leave military service, a lot of different things can come into play. Mortgage questions involved with moving and a lot of other things, and also tax counselors. This very likely changes taxes in certain ways, and a lot of times there are a lot of questions about that. Our tax consultants are well versed in those specifics that affect the military community a lot of times, and are there for them to support them with that as well. And Ms. Miller, I think that's well, I did have the other slide that was on there is just the more general slide about some of the resources in general, not just specifically transition resources, but you may be interested in that as well. But thank you. And I look forward to maybe some questions later on the agenda.
Absolutely. Stick around. We will have a question and answer session after everyone's done. Thank you so much for that information. I didn't use information such as this when I transitioned, and it was tough, and it can be useful. So please take advantage of this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next up, we have Cody Dupree, Director of Operations, NC for me, and that is North Carolina for military employment, because we like to see our service members go to work in North Carolina and find meaningful jobs. So, Mr. Dupree, the floor is yours.
All right. Can you hear me, Crystal?
I sure can.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Crystal. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be here today, presenting to this very important working group here for our state. I'm excited to share our ongoing efforts supporting our military members and their spouses. I do have to give a quick shout out to Mr. Victor Glover for making us aware of this presentation and open the door for us to get in and brief you all today. So, Victor, I think you're still out there, so thank you very much. So real quick, my name's Cody Dupree, and I'm the Director of Operations for North Carolina for military employment, NC for me. Real quickly, I retired out of the Marine Corps here in Camp Lejeune almost 4 years ago to the day. It's gone by pretty quick. And I spent most of that time in Marine Special Operations Command as a critical skills operator on our special operations teams, and deployed several times to various parts of the world during my career. And after retirement, I continued deploying downrange for a private firm as an operational advisor to many U.S. and coalition partners. And but finally, started with NC for me last year, and I very much love coming to work every day and assisting our military folks with transition and future gainful employment. So appreciate that. And Crystal, you're already on the next slide, so thank you. All right, so real quick, NC for me was started by our CEO, Kimberly Williams, as a governor's initiative back in 2015. And after seeing her work starting Virginia Values Veterans, or V3, obviously up in Virginia, and it's continued receiving great support from Governor Cooper and his team, as you guys will see here in a minute. But we are a 501c3, and we are a free service to both veterans and employers. And just like our slide says, our mission and primary reason for existence is to make North Carolina the #1 state for military employment. Currently, we have the 3rd largest military presence in the country, with over 20,000 folks exiting our North Carolina bases every year. There's over 750,000 veterans residing in our state. And obviously, many of these folks have spouses and families here as well. So here in North Carolina, though, after finding their suitable housing, the next thing on their list, top priority, is for transitioning service members and veterans is finding quality employment. So we are very much dedicated to ensuring that happens. All of our team members are either veterans, veteran spouses, or parents of current veteran service members. So our passion for this effort is personal and runs very deep. So next slide, please. All right, if we can get this quick video to play, should enjoy it. See some.
We're on a mission to make North Carolina the #1 state for military employment. We challenge you, employers, to honor veterans by hiring veterans. It'll help your business as well. So, are you on board?
North Carolina for Military Employment wants to challenge you to honor veterans by hiring veterans. Because if you're not hiring veterans, your competition is. Are you on board?
20 years ago, after 9/11, the first boots on the ground in the global war on terror were from right here in North Carolina. Today, those same heroes and their spouses continue to transition into the civilian workforce. Let's honor these heroes by hiring these heroes. At the North Carolina Department of Commerce, we're on board. Are you?
At Marine Federal, over 1/3 of our employees are veterans or military spouses. Marine Federal is on board. Are you?
Lowe's is on board because we know the value that service members and military spouses bring to our organization.
Cisco's on board because together we can make a difference.
The City of Jacksonville is on board with the hiring of veterans. Are you on board?
MetLife is on board with hiring military veterans. Are you on board?
At Spectrum, about 1 in 10 of our employees have a military affiliation. We're on board because we're committed to hiring, developing, and mentoring veterans.
Truist is on board for veteran hiring because we know the value that service members bring to our organization.
Grady White Boats is on board with hiring our veterans and military spouses. When it's your turn to transition from military service, know that the skills and leadership that you learned are in high demand in the civilian workforce.
Pike is on board because you defended our country and we need your help to build it.
At Jarrett Bay, we understand the sacrifices of service members and their families.
We're on board. So are you on board with hiring veterans and military spouses?
We're on board with hiring veterans.
Are you?
That's a take.
That was awesome, Cody. Give me just a moment to get back to the presentation.
All right. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. It kind of looked like a foreign film there for a little bit with the lag behind and the video and the voice, but it worked. All right. So while Crystal's pulling that back up, that video was put together, I believe, in the fall of last year in an extremely quick window of time with the help of Governor Cooper and his team, obviously, and others you saw in the video, but quickly received, well over 120,000 views in a matter of a few days. So again, it just highlights the level of importance that, to the governor's office here and other important stakeholders in our state. So, all right, moving on. And okay.
Can you see that okay, Cody? Are you seeing you seeing the whole slide?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right. So what we did was formed one single team of strategic partners to assist in our lines of effort. As you can see, we had the support from the governor's office on down, working closely with Secretary Gaskin and his team at the BMVA, General Anderson and his team at NCMAC, Mark Edmonds, like you saw in the video there at NC Commerce and his great team of folks, and all the NC Works offices around the state. North Carolina National Guard, we have a really good close relationship with NC SHRM and the various SHRM chapters around the state, and IBMF 020 from Syracuse University with all the various career paths and cohorts that they offer. UNC Systems and North Carolina Community Colleges and many top private industry partners around the state. The key here for us is having state and private entities all laser focused in getting after our service members and their families' employment needs. We could not do what we do without all these organizations and many others not listed here. Total commitment to helping our veterans and their spouses. So next slide, please. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so how do we do it? So we have a three-pronged approach here. So first, we educate the strategic leaders in the public and private spaces on the value proposition, the business case of hiring our high-performing transition service members and veterans and their spouses. Understanding the character attributes and soft skills they bring to your company, which are infectious and will quickly prove that if you hire one, you're going to want to hire many more. And in this day and age, with COVID and inflation and everything else going on, it's all about building innovative teams and resilient teams to stay ahead of your competition. In addition, being innovative in ways of retaining these high performers once they get out and come into your company. We got the best workforce in the country coming out to be a part of your team that have some of the most innovative minds and, more than proven their worth with regards to resiliency. And we feel, hey, what better place to look and attract that talent pool than right here in North Carolina from our military bases. So next, we train and educate the HR professionals and hiring teams and developing and operating from a talent mindset, emphasizing the importance of culture and that there has to be buy-in from the top all the way down. We show them, the value of investing in their human capital, our military talent, setting the bar high for talent and never wavering or compromising. And one of the ways that we show this is putting high-performing veteran employees in their companies on these hiring teams themselves, screening for other military talent with like potential that they themselves displayed when they're being interviewed. So we show them that veterans are twice more likely to stay on the job than their civilian counterparts, reducing attrition costs. We help remove the negative stereotypes that have unfortunately been placed on our service members over the years. We provide SHRM accreditation during our monthly HR webinars we present, and we present in the or participate in the NC SHRM conference every year in the fall, and we assist them with developing veteran employee resource groups and strengthening their websites in the form of veteran landing pages. Because at the end of the day, A gamers, which is our military talent here in the state, they want to work for other A gamers. So we ensure that we get that point across to them. And I'd say we stress the importance of these two entities being in lockstep with regard to the business strategy of seeking and selecting, developing and retaining our amazing military talent here, or it's not going to work for them and they're going to fall behind their competition. And then lastly, the big thing is we connect our top performing talent through personal warm handovers and follow-throughs with great veteran-ready employers, both in the public and private domains, 365 days a year. We assist in other transition readiness areas like resume building, skills translation, interviewing prep, telling their story, LinkedIn profile development, and we can also do professional headshots here in our office, just to name a few. And this positively affects our service members and their families' morale and attitude towards their futures for life after. This also strengthens our state's economic development and will attract other companies to our state, obviously investing in our future. So next slide, please. Okay, so I touched on, so these are our leadership or HR forums and some of our presentations throughout the year. Like I mentioned earlier, we routinely present these HR accreditation through our webinars and hopefully in our future in-person events as well, as we're coming out of this COVID restriction stuff, hopefully. We always have great panelists, a large turnout, and answer a lot of great questions, a lot of good engagement with the audience, and then continued follow-up with our attendees after these events as well. And we also present at many other events throughout the state. Excuse me. This summer in June, we'll be speaking to the International City and County Managers Association and Veterans Local Government Management Fellowship at their summer statewide in Beaufort. October, we got a couple things going on with the NC SHRM annual conference I mentioned before in Winston-Salem and the NC Works Partnership Conference in Greensboro. And then these are some of the past webinars we've had since October of last year, and we've got a few coming up as well in May. So on our last slide, please link up with us on all the different social platforms, and you'll be able to see and get all the marketing information and details on all these events coming up. So, all right, next slide. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, go back, please. All right. So career connections. All right, another big task that we do here, critical task. So this is a list of other key events we got planned this year. We either execute or own our own hiring events or support others throughout the year, whether that's on bases or off bases. In addition, we put on various other engagement opportunities that bring our military talent and employers together. We present to and engage with student veterans and provide materials for various NC universities and community colleges around the state. I was at UNC Chapel Hill just a couple nights ago, meeting with their folks. Had a good time. And we are on every military installation, presenting to the transitioning service members and their spouses as they prepare for life after. And finally, we got a close relationship with, like I mentioned, IVMF 020, their cohorts and other skill bridge initiatives on all of our bases, to include, getting some South Carolina service members on some of these virtual events as well. So something to mention here that I'll make a key point is if you're seeking employment in another state for whatever reason, we help facilitate that as well. We're NC for me, obviously, but we don't stop just because you tell us, hey, we're not staying here in North Carolina, we're going back home to Texas or what might have you. Many of our industry partners that we work with have careers in lots of different states around the country. So we will do everything we can to assist that transition as well. We have connections with employers and other veteran organizations specific to those states that we can link you up with so that there isn't a gap in your transition. So keeping our talent here in North Carolina is obviously our best case and ideal, but we know folks want to get back home or go somewhere else for other opportunities. And so we're never going to turn away any service member or their spouse because they desire to live elsewhere after departing the military. So next slide. So here's some of our results. The point here is we've engaged with a lot of key folks in business, in public domains, and the military leaders from all these bases here in North Carolina. And this continues to grow every month. These numbers will change in the next couple of weeks after our April 1st hiring event at the Panthers Stadium in Charlotte, which was on the last slide. And so this is just kind of an example of our outreach and what we do and how it continues to grow. So, all right, and then the last slide. All right, so here's our various social platform links. I did not make these up. My kids know this stuff better than I do. But we can be contacted and followed out. We have an awesome program director in Alex Skelton that manages this. And in addition, we are located physically in office space here in Jacksonville, outside Camp Lejeune, and we are expecting to have an office in the Fayetteville, Bragg area, hopefully within the next 60 days or so. And my email is cdepree@ncforme.org. That's cdeupree@ncforme.org if you want to connect and learn more. But thank you very much for having me today. And it was a pleasure to speak to all of you. And please be safe and take care. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you so much, Cody. We appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on April 1st.
All right. Thank you.
Next up to talk about NC Strive 2022, Mr. Shelton Fairclough, Transition Patient Advocate from the Durham VA Healthcare Center, and Savon Norris, Associate Vice Chancellor for Military Affairs, Fayetteville State University. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. How is everyone doing? My name is Shelton Fairclough. I am the Transition Patient Advocate at the Durham VA Medical Center. It is a pleasure to greet all of you. And what a special day it is to talk about transitioning veterans. Our topic today is about NC Strive. As most of you can remember, it grew out of a challenge from Dr. Chad Kessler, formerly the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Durham VA, to expand outreach efforts to all 2- and 4-year campuses in North Carolina. NC Strive was built in part upon our experience working with NC State, including the Raleigh Vet Center, the North Carolina State University collaboration to provide psychotherapy on campus, and a successful outreach partnership with Duke University and UNC Chapel Hill. The initial task was creating a large group of involved stakeholders from the VA, the state government, and the education community. The governor's working group became a part of this success and its efforts. So I heard earlier someone say about 2015. So 2015 was a very exciting year for all of us as far as initiatives that we created in the state of North Carolina for our veterans. Next slide, please. Our key partnership, it kind of tells us what is NC Strive. The purpose is the annual conference is aimed to equip administrators, faculty, and staff in higher education with information, resources, and networking that will enhance the experience and success of student veterans in their pursuit of certificates and degrees. Next slide, please. As you all know, Dr. Fang was a very intricate part in helping to get NC Strive going by bringing people together, sharing their visions, and of course, supporting the regional and local leadership to define the contents. Dr. Fang has since retired, but is still an intricate part in our NC Strive for 2022. Next slide, please. So here's our governor's working group on the veteran service members and their families. Of course, since 2006, the mission was here in the governor's working group to make sure that we take care of all our veterans, service members, our spouses of veterans within the community and the state. And now with Governor Cooper, the support and the initiative undertaken by the working group is still there, and we really appreciate that. We still have this vision of making sure that all of the veterans and the the faculty and staff, as well as the spouses of these veterans, all work together to make sure that we have a success for those service members and their spouse with understanding their higher academia and where they want to go. Next slide, please. So here we have the Department of Health and Human Services, and they have been an intricate part as well with working with NC Strive, especially our most vulnerable citizens, the children, elderly, disabled, and low-income families. The department works closely with us to make sure that we do all that we can. To do all that we can to ensure that our mission and our focus is produced and produces a great quality of work. Next slide. The VHA partnership is truly one of the intricate parts in this. We are just another caveat to help ensure that NC Strive can be viewed by those transitioning service members. Post 9/11 military to VA case management usually deals with those veterans that are transitioning from the VA, from the military, and what our program actually do is try to help them understand what is your next generation or your next part of your life going to be. What are you going to do next? How are you going to pursue whatever else your next career is? When it comes to education, we always talk about the differences of the 2-year, 4-year public-private educational options that you have, the benefits associated with those, and how you can be involved in getting a proper education for yourself and your spouse. So we are truly one of those partnerships that work to get that information out to our transitioning veterans. Next slide, please. This slide shows some of the local areas that we had in 2021 for our NC Strive. As you can see, we was on the mountains, the central Piedmont, in the center of the state, as well as on the coast. This year, going to the next slide, we are glad to announce that on May the 11th, we will be pursuing NC Strive face-to-face at Fayetteville State University. On this event is we're placing it out there now so that everyone can please register and join. And we are very excited. We have a great lineup that is coming up, and I have Ms. Norris that will continue further with that lineup.
Okay, thank you, Shelton. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Like Shelton said, Fayetteville State University is proud to be hosting the 2022 NC Strive Conference. It will be held as a one-day conference in our Rudolph Jones Student Center. We really would love to encourage everyone on this call, specifically our veteran service organizations and our state entities, to consider being a vendor. As people know, NC Strive focuses on faculty, staff, and university administrators. It also focuses on the military connected student for both resources in the state and the community and national, while also employment opportunities. We know that military connected students, when they pursue higher education, they pursue it primarily to ensure that they are employable after they graduate. We know military connected students are older, have families and more responsibilities, so that career / employment is absolutely critical. So we have vendor opportunities and sponsor opportunities for anyone interested in either of those. Please contact myself or Shelton. We'll be sure to have our contact information listed in the notes and in the chat. Next slide, please. As you can see, this is a little blurry, so I apologize, but what I want to do is bring your attention towards the bottom for the individual attendance. So as you can see, we began in 2015 with this conference, and it was a good turnout for 200, but as you can see, attendance has steadily increased. This tells us that there is an absolute need and that we need to continue working with our state and local community partners to really support the transition of our military connected individuals. We know that higher education serves as a soft landing place for those transitioning out of active duty. When I left the U.S., my active duty and from the Army, I had a difficult time transitioning because I went from a service member to a military spouse and a veteran, and pursuing education gave me a goal, a mission, and a community. So it's important that we really support our institutions of higher learning, whether they be community colleges or four-year institutions. Next slide. Okay, so it's always important to understand how we're doing, right? We've been doing this for a while, since 2015. We're going into 2022. And so it's important for us to pause and reflect and really understand how we are taking care of the people we're looking to serve. And so in 2019, there was a survey that went out, and we had close to 400 student veterans respond. And what they told us, we found out some great things, and we found out some things that need some improvement. So for example, some of the things that we're doing well in higher ed is the majority of our institutions have specific military connected services and programs that support their military students on campus. There are specific admissions processes for military, which means having staff and administrators understand the processes of applying for GI Bill benefits or other types of educational funding, understanding how to read a JST, a joint service transcript, providing academic counseling based on the student's experience within the military and what they choose to pursue in order to support their employment post-graduation. We did find some things were lacking in our institutions, specifically mentors that have been military themselves that can really help when a new military student comes onto a campus and help be that guide. It is very different from being in the military to going into a campus, and having somebody that can help guide you makes a huge difference, especially with retention, which ultimately hopefully leads to graduation. And then specific veteran events. I was just at a conference yesterday in Wilmington, and I had someone from a college say, well, we host events on our campus, but our veterans don't show up. And when I asked them what they did on campus, it wasn't anything that would be appealing to the military student. And that's because we have to remember that military students are adult learners. Many of them are commuter students. They have jobs, they have family responsibilities. So it's important for you to understand the target audience. What we also found out is that faculty and staff need to be educated on various issues that impact a military connected student's success. And so again, this is why we have these conferences talking about transition support issues, talking about a loss of identity, a lack of community, trying to understand how to navigate the bureaucracy of a university or a community college versus how you manage while you were active duty. Mental health concerns, how does a military connected student get access to the VA if maybe they've never registered with the VA? What type of support programs support mental health for military connected students on your campus? And then additionally, local, state, and federal resources for veterans. Faculty, staff, and university administrators are main points of contact for these individuals, and it's important for us to be aware of the organizations that you belong to, how our military connected students can get connected with you all. Next slide. So, as we know, we had a pandemic, and 2020, we had to cancel our regional conferences. So we moved from 2015 to having one conference a year to, I believe, 2017 when they started trying to do regional outreach. That way it would be fair for our mountains and our central and our coastline universities. Well, 2020, we saw that canceled, but just like our theme for this year's conference, we adapted and we overcame. And we started hosting virtual events, and we found that they were incredibly successful, which again tells us that this information is needed. And so we saw close to 10,000 viewers from those live streams. Next slide. And here you can see that we had over 11,000 people join in for the 2021 events. So we focused on transition, employment, wellness, and education. Next slide. So why is this important? Well, military connected schools or military connected students are in every school across the state. It's important for us to be aware of the resources available to support them and their unique needs. And it's important for us to understand the strengths that they bring to our campus. These veterans have very well earned GI Bill. This is federal funding, and we need to be sure that we are doing right by our military connected students, and so that they are getting the most out of their time through their education. It's not only the right thing to do to invest in military students, it's also the smart thing to do. Our military students are leaders both on and off campus. Our universities are truly, simply stated, better because we have our veterans and military spouses within our classrooms. And we know that national research from Student Veterans of America shows that military connected individuals, when they go to a school, they're more likely to remain in that state where they went to school. So if they go to one of our schools in North Carolina, they're more likely to stay here because hopefully they have found a great job. And they are more likely to pay taxes, start businesses, purchase homes, and give back to their community and their alma mater. So keeping them here and making sure that they have the best experience possible is great for everyone. Next slide. Okay, so what we need from everyone here on this call and within your networks is to consider supporting your local universities, your local community colleges, and support this conference. We may be moving in the future back to the regional conferences, but for now in 2022, we have our one at Fayetteville State. We are close to Fort Bragg, and so that means we have a lot of people that we can really impact through this conference. We need your help in educating our faculty, staff, and administrators on your resources and ways in which we can help our military connected students. And we need you to help our military connected students as well, whether that's employment support or mentoring, coaching, you name it. We need to work together in order for us to take good care of these students. Next slide. Okay, next slide, please. I'm gonna skip that one. Okay, so again, everyone is welcome. We have a broad mission for our NC Strive conference. We aim to increase education and awareness for our faculty, staff, and university administrators to ensure our military-connected students are successful on campus. There is also an employer component as well. So we have vendors, one for community, state, and federal resources, and we have another section for our employer vendors. And I'd like to just give a shout out to NC for me. I had a great conversation with them earlier today, and they're excited to be a vendor. And so we would love to have you all join us in support of that. And if you have a presentation, if you have a training that you know is very successful and you would like to present that at our conference on May 11th, please contact Shelton or myself, and we can see if we can make that happen. Next slide. Okay. Before I end, I just want to say thank you for your time and attention today. I also want to let you know that we have a website through the Governor's Working Group. It's ncstrive.org, I believe. And you can register on that website. You can register to be a vendor. You can register to be an employer. And if you are interested in being a sponsor, please contact myself and I would be happy to talk with you about those benefits. It is free to attend. We do not charge our vendors, our employers. We do not charge our attendees. So we really rely on the support of our state and our community. So again, thank you all so much, and we hope to see you on May 11th.
Thank you so much. And stick around. We've got a few questions. We're going to do a panel discussion. There we go. So if all of our panelists would please turn your cameras back on. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have a question for all of you, and we'll start with you, Wayne. I know it's a question on a lot of my fellow VSOs' minds, and that is, how do you reach those veterans that are in the far reaches of rural North Carolina? And, you know, we look at northeastern North Carolina and our western North Carolina region. There are not a lot of resources available. So Wayne, I'll start with you. How do you deal with those rural veterans here in North Carolina?
Crystal, that's a great question. Part of the design of the Military One Source program was to connect those service members and dependents that aren't close to a military installation. And so that's why the program's designed to be accessible remotely. And a lot of our services, a lot of the counselors and different things are able to meet with them virtually, sometimes over the phone, using a lot of different options. We also have in-person, face-to-face options many times. Based on the zip code, of course, that's going to vary quite a bit. And it also may mean that the drive time potentially gets to be quite a bit larger. But that, I think, is where the virtual options are that much more important.
I'm sorry, I was talking and still muted. Cody, same question to you. How do you and NC for me reach those rural veterans? What type of jobs are available for them where they live?
Yeah, so that's a good question, like Wayne said. So I've actually been in contact with a Linda Lamp, who represents the Southwestern Commission Workforce Development and Business Services out in Silva, which is pretty far in the southwestern corner of the state out there. Beautiful country, obviously, but she had reached out a while back, and those were some of her concerns. And there's a 7-county coalition out there that they are trying to attract, transitioning service members and veterans out in that area to get involved in the public space for sure. And we had a very good conversation, and I'm still in touch with her, going back and forth. I'm supposed to go out there and visit her and her coalition, if you will, and her council members, and kind of give them a brief like we did today, and let them know we're here for them, and we can, we're going to certainly try and, if they provide us certain information and everything they can, then we're going to promote that to our bases as much as possible, because obviously it's beautiful out there out west, a lot of things to do. They do identify some challenges of getting some folks out there, but we're going to do everything we can to promote that area along the western border there with Tennessee and stuff as well. So we're going to be visiting App State. We are due to visit Western Carolina as well to talk to the student veterans at those two places, and then obviously meet with her and her 7-county coalition and come up with some good plans. So hopefully that helps.
Wonderful. It does. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Shelton, with the NC Strive, with so many students going to school virtually, and maybe they are not going to have access, or how do you reach those online students who are not going to be able to come back to the in-person events?
What a great question, Crystal. So what we have done is we actually reached out to each and every school in the state through email to their Military and Veteran Affairs Department to inform them first and foremost about the conference, letting them know that it is an in-person conference. Additionally, we asked them to contact their students to let them know about it. And then we went a little further and said, we know some of the schools are further out and have limited budget. So we kind of asked the larger schools that has I guess you could say a larger budget, if they could provide transportation for the area. That way you can have a group of veterans and staff on a bus ride, if you will, to Fayetteville State. And you can only imagine how that conversation will be going, with the hoorah, hooah, and everything. But can you imagine the conversations that they will leave with after the information that they all have received, and how they then can continue to pursue their higher academia? So we have already sent out emails to each and every university in the state to make sure that they all were aware. And hopefully those larger universities can provide that transportation so that we can get all of the students at this event.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Next question. Wayne, you mentioned the virtual services. Who is it that answers those phone calls? Who is it that does that counseling? Who's providing the family resources when they are virtual?
Crystal, the phones are answered by our triage consultants, and they work with that service member or family member to determine what resources are appropriate, what's needed, and then they set up the appointments and so forth. But there are various credentialed counselors, whether that's confidential non-medical counseling, whether it's financial counseling, tax counselors, and they're all credentialed in various ways in their different fields. And they are, and especially I like to mention with financial counseling, they are fiduciary. They are simply providing the information and knowledge for that service member or family member to make the decision that's best for their family. They are not compensated in any way based on any choices that are made. So they are entirely trustworthy, and of course, everything vetted by Department of Defense.
Thank you for that. All right, next up, Cody, on the website, there is a quote that says, I got to speak to a real live recruiter. Describe what a recruiter is in your business there.
So I think, yeah, knowledge was choose it, not just a website. Yeah, so I think what the point behind that was that when we make our partnerships with various companies, we're able to get inside and get to the source of who's putting these jobs out, but also who's managing the recruiting and the overall selecting these jobs. And so that's where we make that warm connection between the candidate and the employer, vice them going on, like everybody else, onto a website and going through, potentially some kind of virtual process, or, not being able to actually engage with somebody over the phone or virtually or in person to, talk more about that job and what these folks have to offer and things like that. So I think that's where we were going with that one in particular.
Thank you. All right, Shelton, I have one for you. Would you please define military connected student? So we know about our veterans. I'll tell you, let me give you a little more information. When I went to the NC State, NC Strive event a few years ago, when we were still doing that in person, there was a panel of children of veterans who were attending school there. And it was very evident that those individuals had some special needs themselves.
So very good question. And I started laughing when you asked me that. And the reason I started laughing is because my daughter is a graduating senior and she's about to be a military connected student. So I understood the question. It was just great to hear it. Those are typically those students that they may not have served in the military, but their parents, spouses, or what have you are connected, and they are using resources from those military experiences for education. So yes, you may have some students that may be there that are not actually veterans, or some spouses that are not veterans, but are actually using the resources that those particular spouses or parents have offered to them. So this will also be a good opportunity for them to learn about some information, because they can always learn different things and use those resources to take back. So we want to make sure that everyone that's connected through the military are able to obtain something from this event. In particular, we do have a speech this year from a breakout session, if you will, from Dr. Cheryl Curtis out of Johnson C. Smith University, that will be working directly with single parents students, or single parent veteran students. So it's so much to learn at this conference, and we want everyone to have that opportunity to learn.
A lot of subcategories of military connected. That's wonderful. Thank you. That was a very eye-opening event for me to listen to that panel discuss the issues that they had overcome, not just in college, but in going through school, being the children of military parents. Mr. Smith, please list the ways that the service member, veteran, and their families can access the resources and benefits available through Military OneSource. I know you told us earlier. For one more time, tell us how those people can access your resources.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, and sometimes I call it the easy button, but that's the toll-free call centers, 800-342-9647. Our call centers are always operating any time of the day or night, any day of the year. And a live consultant will answer and work with them one-on-one to get them what they need I tell service members and their family members, if you don't know what it is exactly, because a lot of times that's the way we are. We know we need something, but we don't maybe know exactly what it is. Yeah, that's a great time to call. That's what they're there for. They're going to have to figure that out and get that done. Take some of that frustration out if at all possible. And then our website, militaryonesource.mil. And from the website, they can do their login there. Not just service members, but the spouses and children as well can establish login. They can go on there. There's lots of products even on there, kids books and other resources, and they're at no cost as well. And they can order them right off the website. We will ship it to them, and we cover the postage on that. And then lastly, and the newest one, because we've had this since last year, at some point last year, and that's the Military One Source app, so they can put us on the smartphone.
Thank you so much. I didn't know about the children's books. That's very, very, very awesome. That's all right. Mr. Dupree, how many people would you estimate have been served by NC for Me since its inception?
Oh, that's a good, we have, we've engaged with at least close to 10,000, and obviously the last year and a half, couple of years has slowed that down from our yearly pace with all the we were putting on 10 hiring events a year and multiple other summits and stuff pre-COVID, rocking right along, and then that happened, and so now we're coming out of that, so we expect to pick that back up. But just here in the state of North Carolina, close to 8,000 to 10,000, and a lot of the cohorts that we do with IVMF and O2O, Amazon Web Services, we've done some with them, and some of the other things that we've done virtually, we probably haven't even been counting those, and so those those are coming from other parts of the country too as well. We're reaching out to, so kind of like I said, we're NC for Me, but we do understand that folks are going to leave our bases and go to another state, and but the partners we work with that are rooted here in North Carolina do have careers and stuff in other states, so we facilitate that as much as well as possible. But yeah, and like I said, those numbers will change even more this coming week with our April 1st event and throughout the year. So
thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Faircloth, what impact do you think NC Strive has had in higher education in North Carolina?
Oh my. Since my involvement since 2015, I have seen so much growth in both the staff quality of education, as well as the students' recognition among one another. I have the opportunity of going to different universities and colleges to talk to the veteran staff, and you see the growth from the transitions that they have made based off of the NC Strive. Speaking with staff, you hear how they didn't understand or didn't realize the differences of the students, but now they do, and now they can better facilitate those differences between the students. And it's just we've seen so much growth from this conference, and we know that there's so much more to do, and that's why we continue to do the work to make sure the NC Strive is one of those pillars for those student veterans within our communities here in the state.
Thank you for that. One last question for everybody. Wayne, what's your #1 marketing strategy to get Military One Source and information out to those transitioning veterans, besides the Governor's Working Group?
And this is an excellent venue. One of the things that I'll often suggest, even just in sitting there and meeting with them, is encourage them to. Everybody has a smartphone now, right? It's just right there. It's in your pocket. Just to pull that out They quickly can download the My Military OneSource app. And before I'm done speaking, they've pulled it down. They're looking through there, doing their own tour, seeing what resources are there that they didn't know about. And they're asking questions about them. So that's been very useful, kind of a tactic to use, I think.
Nice. Cody, #1 marketing strategy.
Excuse me, guys. Yeah, I agree with Wayne. I think we're in the technology age. So, like we had on our last slide, we're on every social media platform. Our marketing team puts out stuff all the time and floods it with very, very cool and innovative things. And we're on every base. We have material on every base. We're getting in front of all the transitioning service members during their transition seminars. And yeah, I guess that would probably be, we have a real close relationship, like I mentioned, with, Secretary Gaskin and General Rodney Anderson and his team. And so we're in a lot of these different working groups or conferences or meetings and getting the word out. And we have a lot of key partners from commerce and other industries and other entities at the state level that are, are putting our word out as well. So.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Shelton, what's your #1 marketing strategy?
Back when I was in the military, we used to say, in order to get information out, you use the telephone, tell a friend, or tell a vet. We don't do that too much now, but we are using every opportunity and options that we have to get our information out. We've used, of course, the Governor's Working Group has been great and instrumental in getting it out by social media. We're also including local businesses, informing them about this, because even they have those veterans in their facilities that may want to know information of for higher academia. So we are using every marketing scheme available to us to get this information out, and we're posting it in our facilities and just letting them know that this is coming, this is here. Use what is here for you to help you.
All right, thank you so much. Well, there you have it, folks. Spread the word. Military OneSource, NC for Me, and NC Strive, excellent resources for our transitioning veterans. Our next meeting is going to be on April the 28th. I will not be here. Someone wonderful will be hosting in my place. But I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you next month. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Crystal, can I say one last parting shot real fast?
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I wanted to make sure that I got to Mr. Westbrooks. He asked how, as we coordinate our different hiring events, how do we recruit employers to participate? So we have a vast number of partnerships with various companies around the state that we're constantly engaged with. And we are on the phone almost daily with new partners and new companies that are calling us and asking how to become partners and how to get more engaged with military talent. And we're constantly providing them material and doing phone calls and Zoom calls and advising with them at all times. And then, once because we're on all the bases and because of our vast kind of aggressive social media presence that we're putting out there, all these events, we get a lot of attraction from those. And I think one of the key things too, to answer that, is the HR webinars and the key leader summits that we put on. A lot of people attend those, and that spreads like wildfire to many more folks out there throughout the state. So that helps us recruit all those folks that he was asking about. So I just wanted to make sure I got to Mr. Westbrook's question there real quick. Thank you. Sorry for holding everybody up.
No, thank you. We really appreciate that. Good question. All right. Remember, if you need a VSO, go to www.milvets.nc.gov, and our VSOs in the state of North Carolina should be able to connect you to these resources as well. Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful